Hi, this is Sarah from Mercy Survivors, support for survivors of Mercy Ministries. Check out our website, mercysurvivors.com. Okay, I'm really struggling to make this video. This is about the 100th time, so bear with me. In my last video, which was 20 minutes by the way, apologies, try and do better this time, I talked about the way in which young women are portrayed, young women with issues, but more specifically young women who have entered or are entering the Mercy Ministries program, and women who have graduated from the program, which they call girls, which I still slip up and call girls sometimes, but I'm trying to get out of that terrible habit, because they're as old as 28. They're women. So, I guess I just raised the issue of the way that that image is portrayed, which is ultimately the image that their own clients, in order to get money, in order to get pity from people, that, you know, these young women didn't necessarily ask for or want. And the way that it's portrayed just in an unnecessarily graphic way, like, yeah, a young troubled woman about to go slash up in a bathroom with one of those blades, or about to stick two things down her throat in a bowl, you know, toilet bowl, got a leg up on the wall ready to get some, you know, action. Like, just unnecessary. It's unnecessary, bit of shock value, and kind of dramatic, and a way that kind of cheapens and exploits us. Like, I guess it appeals to people in that people want to see, people watch movies to see, you know, if they want to see some graphic violence or some tragedy porn, they can watch a movie, you know. But I think to portray young women, their own clients, in a program that way, and show them acting out these behaviours, which I said in my last video, for me personally, as someone who's struggled with self-harm, it's incredibly private for me. I would never do that in front of anyone. I would never want myself portrayed as a client of an organisation or a former client in that way, in that graphic way, in that way that's, yeah, whether it's even in a book, the way that she tells it in a book, which I think is tragedy porn as well. I like that term. I think it's very accurate. It's just cheap. It just really, I felt really cheapened and kind of embarrassed watching it, like thinking this image is going out to all these people and they're watching this chick self-harm, and then they look at me and see my scars and they've got that image in my head, you know, in their heads. So I just wanted to talk about how all of that the way that they're portrayed, the dramatic effect, I guess, the dramatic division between, oh, this is how a girl comes in and she's all troubled, and then she comes out like this, praise God, amen, and she's healed of all her problems. And so this impacts the entire program, the culture of the staff, and the culture feeds down to the program itself, and ultimately is a burden. This idea of Mercy's success and this demand for this dramatic transformation in a matter of weeks or months, the ultimate responsibility is borne by the resident in the program, and I'll explain in a second. So if you've ever had a job where you've got KPTs or KPIs, key performance indicators or targets, you'll understand how it works. So within, like, say, a corporation, right, you've got, you know, this organisation that likes to kind of blow its own horn, like say how successful it is and everything. Now, the person at the top, they kind of set that tone, and they set, I guess, some goals, some overarching objectives and goals and targets that kind of, they need to meet those to keep the image of the company, and to make sure what they're doing is matching what they're portraying to the public about what they're doing. So they set a certain, you know, certain standards, which in turn feed down to the people below them, which in turn feed down right to the very bottom. So everyone in that company has KPIs, basically goals that they have to fulfill through the course of the year to keep their jobs, to get their, to prove that they're doing their job, and to maintain the image of that company. Now, there's already a problem, because the success rate that's portrayed about Mercy Ministries, by Mercy Ministries, 93% success rate. I'm sorry, mate, but that's not true. I'm telling you now. When you survey, it's apparently I'm deviating now, but the survey, who was apparently run by an independent firm, and asks young women, oh, was your life transformed and your hope restored by Mercy Ministries? That survey's sent to select certain young women and not others. It was sent to the young women who they had contact details for, who they'd maintained contact with, which clearly, very unlikely, it would have included too many of the young women who had been dismissed from their program for being, unwilling to change. So already their sample is not a reliable sample. Okay, back on subject though. So you've got, these KBTs. Nancy, think of Nancy as the CEO, okay, which she kind of is. And she's got KBTs. She's portrayed this image about her program, so that there's already a problem that the level of success being portrayed is very dramatic, very remarkable, and way above the claims of even the best treatment centre in the world. So 93%. And that feeds down to her senior staff, her little top dogs, who have to manage the staff under them and make sure that that image is being maintained. And so that feeds down to the program staff, the people who actually run the program and supervise young women and interact with young women on a daily basis. And mind you, all of these staff, very few of them are adequately qualified, despite Mercy's claims on their website and persistent dishonesty. They're not qualified. They're not qualified professionals. When you've got like your masters in divinity at Rhema, I'm sorry, but you're not a counsellor, mate. So you've got these people who, they've been employed by Mercy, they've gotten jobs there, and they've got a certain standard to uphold as well. Like, they're the ones interacting, they're kind of on the ground with their young women, and they have a certain standard to uphold, and they've got their KPTs from the top, and they've got to prove that they're doing their job. They've got to prove that they're being effective, that they're that the level of change and success that's portrayed, which is not accurate, is being maintained. And so in order to do that, they've got to, so basically what happens in the program is, if something happens that challenges that idea of Mercy's success. So let's take, for example, a young woman who, in a matter of weeks or a couple of months, is failing to show, display outward signs of healing, or maybe isn't, I don't know, maybe she's not talking like she's healed, maybe she's not acting like she's healed, maybe she doesn't look healed from her, lifelong eating disorder or mental health problem. If she doesn't suddenly jump out of a box with a Stepford wife smile on her face after being ripped off 15 medications, then okay, that challenges the idea that Mercy's program is this amazing thing that doesn't need to change. It doesn't need to change because it's just so successful and it's just full of God, so why would it need to change? And so if a young woman presents with, symptoms that, hey, maybe this program isn't really working out for them, there's never a moment where they stop and think and go, gee, maybe it could be the program. Maybe we need to look at this program. There's been a few young women that haven't quite responded to the program as we'd hoped. Maybe we need to look at our program and reassess our program and look at the fact, like actually look at the image that's being portrayed. Are we really meeting that image? Or are we just trying to look like we're meeting that image? So I guess when there's, young unqualified staff who really have no idea what they're doing, they're cowboys imitating, a treatment centre with their rules, but not fully understanding what some of them are even there for, the rules in place for, thinking that, just immersing these young women in 24/7 Christian activity and cleaning duties, and getting punished for not making their bed properly, or for getting a time on a roster, or for voicing criticism or opposition, then if that's not working, I mean, they're only doing what they can because they're not qualified. They don't have all that much insight into what's going on for these young women. They don't know what, sometimes some of them don't know what the names of the conditions are that these young women have. There's just a lot that I think because Mercy portrays this healing, this so that you can come to this program and have all these kind of complex issues going on that's previously required multifaceted, multi-level intervention from a number of different professionals. People with great intentions, that's great. People who can relate to those issues, that's great. But if you're actually in need of professional help, Mercy's not going to cut it. And so when Mercy's not cutting it, when a young woman presents with symptoms that Mercy's not quite having the success that they claim to have, the blame's immediately shifted, because there's these staff members who are incompetent. They're not incompetent as human beings. I'm sure they're intelligent people, but they're incompetent because they don't have the correct training, and they have no idea what they're doing. Their program is just Christian activity. The counselling isn't counselling. The counselling is restoring the foundations, which is deliverance manual. Look it up. So rtf.org, I think. The group counselling isn't group counselling. The group counselling is like a Bible study and a questions in a book. And even in that, you can't actually talk openly about your issues with other girls. So it's a bit weird. So it's not actually counselling. A young woman who's struggling with an eating disorder needs serious intervention, or a mental health problem, or someone who's come from a structure of support and comes into this program, and it's not quite what they thought it would be. It hasn't got the kind of support that they thought they would have. It hasn't even got counselling. It's got a lot of structure. Some of it's not bad structure, but it's structure without the actual... It's like a cake tin without a cake in it. So here we go. So these KPTs ultimately feed down to the young women. So you've got these staff members, because the program's not working, and they've got these KPTs to uphold, and Nancy's on these guys and these guys are on them. Like they've got to kind of all prove that they're doing their job. And this is just the KPT thing is just a concept, by the way, that I'm using, because I think it accurately describes. I don't know if they do have KPTs, but anyway. And so ultimately that feeds down to the young women in the program. And I have to say that what I'm about to say, it sounds like a generalization, but it's actually incredibly accurate. I've never, ever, ever seen any evidence that Mercy Ministries or the staff of Mercy Ministries considers for a moment that maybe they need to reassess their program, and maybe they need to be the ones willing to change. They expect a lot from the young women that come into the program. They expect them to be willing to change. They expect a lot, but I've never seen a willingness to change on the part of a staff member, as long as they're part of that system, or in terms of the program. So this program's held up in this kind of almost infallible way, like, well, it's not the program works because, the 93% works, so you're the problem. And that's what happens when, a young woman, if she's not displaying signs of healing within a matter of weeks or months, of this dramatic healing that's portrayed on all the videos, she's accused of a number of things. She's accused of being rebellious, or having a spirit of rebellion, rebelling against God. She's accused of being unteachable, or having an unteachable spirit, especially if she speaks her mind or voices concern about a decision or a behaviour of a staff member of the program. She's accused of being unwilling to change. That's a big one, and that one will get you kicked out. And that's the ultimate big stick. And that basically means, it's kind of projection, who's really unwilling to change here? I think it's Mercy. There's a common denominator here, isn't there? Accused of making bad choices. accused of making choices to let demons back in after they've had deliverance. If they struggle and they're accused of opening a door to Satan and letting demons in. There's a whole bunch of other accusations on. There's so many things that we got accused of quite regularly, and it's really interesting because all of the things that we got told and accused, attention seeking and being a victim and playing games with staff, all of these things, it's just amazing because we got accused of those things here in Australia, in Australian homes. And when I made contact with a bunch of US, I'm in touch with a few dozen now, but a bunch of the US former residents, it's just amazing that they got told the same things, the exact same things. So it ultimately feeds down to the young woman in the program. If she's not performing the way that they portray a young woman's success to be, then she's they have to do something about it. They either have to graduate her really quick and get her out of there just while she's kind of looking like she might be healed, and get her out of there, and then she crashes, and they disown her then quietly, or they kick her out at the time and dismiss her from the program for being unwilling to change or making bad choices or not being, I don't know, they'll come up with something. The reason's never them. The reason for a young woman continuing to struggle in their program is never Mercy, in Mercy's mind, in the mind of a staff member, in the mind of Nancy Alcorn. It's always the young woman. So ultimately it results in the young woman being scapegoated. Now, for those who make it to graduation, like myself, there's then a standard that you have to uphold, because not only were you the kind of troubled girl, but now you're, oh my goodness, 17 minutes. So this is another 20-minute video, I'm sorry. So if you're the graduate who's, supposed to be all healed and all of that and set free, and then you come out of the program and you're like kind of traumatized, or you realize that you're not that equipped and you don't really have the tools that you kind of needed, or you may still need some support. Maybe you need to see someone else, but you don't because you feel ashamed, because you feel like you're supposed to be healed by now. I've encountered a lot of graduates within our network who, it's almost like before they were getting some help, but now they're even more ashamed to get help because, they should be healed by now. And if Mercy found out they weren't, or found out they were struggling or crashing, then it could damage the reputation of, it could tarnish Mercy's reputation. They risk being ostracized by the Mercy community. They risk judgments and labels being put on them about why they're struggling. There's a lot of judgment that goes on, and it's really sad. And so, yeah, that's kind of how it works. Like, the way that young women are portrayed by Mercy in a promotional material to the sponsors and to the public, portraying themselves as a very remarkably successful program, and portraying young women in this way, and without actually looking at their program honestly and looking, okay, actually, this criticism's true and maybe we need to do something about this. There's never any of that. There's no self-assessment, and that's what's really scary and concerning. And so I hope that was clear. I'm really sorry it's late at night and I did my best to be concise, but I don't think I did very well. But yeah, I hope this video makes some sense and helps explain the issue of Mercy and yeah. Okay, well, have an awesome day, and hope to see you in my next video. Bye.